Hi,
Hello,
I'm Julian.
and I am Tom.
We are Team Binge. We are back to talk about Widow's Bay, Season 1, Episode 8. This one was called Your Baggage. That's your baggage, Tom, not my baggage. We will break down this episode, and we do have a lot of theory crafting going on. It feels like the Reddit and the internet of the world has really blown up on this show, and a lot of people are looking for clues. This is like back in Lost days, or back when Peppa the Pig was a mystery to everyone, and we were looking for everything. But so we'll dive into that towards the end of the episode. First, we're just going to go through this one. Tom, I turned it over to you to give us the tourist guide summary, and we'll talk about your feelings on this one.
Don't worry about misplaced luggage. Old baggage always resurfaces in Widow's Bay.
Now, is that because like all the boats constantly crash on the reef and everything like washes ashore? Do you think the history behind this little saying is that there's constantly flotsam, I believe is the term, washing ashore from ships breaking?
Flotsam and Jepsam. I don't think it's literal. I think it's literally just the old baggage in Patricia's life is coming back to the surface, but I like your literal take on it.
Oh, interesting. So you took the luggage as Patricia's luggage. You didn't take the luggage as Tom and Evan's, because they're the ones that are kind of going down memory lane. When you think baggage,
touche.
you think Patricia?
I think so. I think it's maybe a little bit of both. I like it.
You know what I like about Patricia's baggage? It could be solved with a firearm, Tom. I just want to point out that a shotgun, man, it really took care of the baggage in this one. I've been saying it all season. Anyways, we'll talk about firearms later. But how did you enjoy this one, Tom?
I had a lot of fun with it. Like once I kind of because you knew they were putting on this happy front, and like everything is great, and we as an audience know like this is not over. And
I thought they were still on a drug trip. The way that it was cut, I was like, oh, they're still on drugs.
Yeah. But this whole episode essentially is just leading to them finding out that it's not over. So it's a bit of like a bottle episode, but it was a lot of fun. And being able to do like a Mike Myers, Jason style kind of horror throwback was a lot of fun. And I like how they even poke fun of it later where he's just constantly walking. So as long as you can keep a brisk walk or jog, you're going to be able to be safe. But it's how long can you sustain? And it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Well, I thought it was funny. And this is the type of show that I thought maybe she would stop at one point and kind of start walking backwards and be like, okay, so this is the speed you go. And maybe her level of panic would go down. But no, they just like keep it going. And she continues to be terrified. Tom, do you have a history with those horror flicks, the Halloweens, the Jason Voorhees, the Friday the 13th? Did you watch those growing up?
I really didn't. Not any of the Halloween movies, not until like when I was older and kind of went back and watched them. It's kind of a nostalgia trip. But I think there was a point in time where I was a young child at a Halloween themed birthday party and they were playing like Jason Goes to Heck. And
Nice.
I was far too young to be watching this and got terrified and had to call my mother to come pick me up. Thankfully, I was only like 3 houses down. So it was just really just a walk back to my home. But yeah, I didn't care for it.
So you found that movie too scary and your mom came and got you. And I know that I've told this story where the Chuck Norris film Sidekicks scared me so much that my mom had to pull me from a movie theater, Tom. So that'll let you
Joe
know.
Piscopo, huh?
The level of cowardice that I'm dealing with over here. I got to be honest, I did not grow up on them. I did not watch them until about a year ago. My wife and I went through and started watching like the old Halloweens, because that level of like technicality in terms of how it looks nowadays, more comical. I'm sure it was terrifying back in the day, and as a young child, I'm sure it was terrifying. But as a grown man who's still a coward, I was able to go back and just be like, all right, this is kind of silly. And there's definitely an homage throughout this episode. And this kind of reminds me of like what Community used to do as a TV show, where they would kind of pick on a theme. And so this haunt happens to be the boogeyman, who is their evil spirit in a mask that forever chases one woman with a knife. And I also enjoyed it. I gotta say, out of all the times this show has like scared me or stressed me out, Patricia in her home was probably, I think that tops the chart for my like Widow's Bay, I don't want to look at the TV moment.
Oh, she had like 18,000 light switches in her house, each one more terrifying than the next.
Oh, yeah. And that, I mean, don't get me started on that taser. We'll talk about it when we get there. But as you pointed out, we open up, the haunt is apparently over. These guys, the island is thriving. I've never seen, this was like Disneyland during the summer on a weekend. This was incredible. There are so many people walking around.
I love when we do get a quick glimpse of those people at the table reading the pamphlet that I'm assuming is what we are reading as these like show intro episode things. It's great.
I believe it's the pamphlet from like episode 1 where Patricia's poetry is not in it, but everyone is loving what Tom put together. And there's like a level of pride coming from Tom that he's made this happen and he's very happy about it.
He's beaming.
He is. He is also pregnant and beaming. So during this, there has been some like what happened to Wick at the end of the last episode, and I almost went into this trying to watch Wick's behavior. It was very quickly like revealed that I think he's pretty normal, but when he goes to get the check and him and Tom fight over the check, something I've never done. Once again, I'm a coward when it comes to fighting physically. I'm a coward when it comes to fighting for the check. I just won't do it, you know? I thought it was interesting that those two are getting along so well that they both fight for the check.
Yeah, they've been through some stuff, so they're letting bygones be bygones, and like maybe they won't be best buds hanging out all the time, but they've got a mutual respect now. But I'm with you. I was like thinking this whole episode, like, okay, is Wick two-faced? Is he doing something? But I still don't know what to make of that scene from the boat. It just seemed like Tom was giving him quite a few looks, but he seemed, right as right in this episode.
Sure. Yeah, they almost like, if Tom had stood up and they did a secret handshake that they now have, where they're doing a bunch of like those daps and weird hand movements, I would have thought, oh, these two are best buds. We find out that Tom is decided he's going to take Evan off island now that there's no haunt, and he's decided to take him to a Red Sox game, which I guess is just the nearest ball club because this is a Boston island or something. We're not really sure, but it's up in the Northeast, so the Red Sox seem nice. They were going to go to a Diamondbacks game, I guess, so that's fine.
Yeah, that would have been a trek. And I like how you called them the local club. This is great. We're clearly not big baseball fans. I do like how we get a quick scene of Rosemary and Dale in the hallways. Like, Dale's like, do you think it's skin cancer? She's like, oh, yes, definitely. Just and a fun little banter to have those two characters on screen was great.
Yeah, and it's on a part of his body that is probably not exposed to the sun very often. And Rosemary's finger is right up in there. And this all leads to Ruth bursting in and being like, Tom, so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so have been calling you for 2 days. I gotta be honest, those names might mean something to someone. They meant nothing to me. And my assumption here was just between his drug trip and his boat trip, he has been unreachable. This wasn't like a Monday where he's like, yeah, it was the weekend, Ruth. This was him being out solving the haunt, right?
I like how it's just essentially the polar opposite of previous, where Ruth was not necessarily being helpful. Now she's being helpful, telling him, like, hey, you had a bunch of calls, and trying to get him back into the game. And he's like, everything will be all right. He thinks he's solved it all.
Yes, he lost his left hand, so everything's going to be all right.
Rested quote, drink.
I am interested in Ruth as a person in terms of not helpful when he needs her to be, too helpful when he doesn't want her to be. I appreciate that person and that personality. I also appreciate Patricia. She's having a little dinner for one at home and definitely got the wrong order, which I'm not going to lie. If you were like keto or going low carb, this seemed like a pretty good meal, but she was disappointed because it was wildly different than what she wanted.
Yeah, listen, I think all the things that happened in this episode, I think this might be the worst one.
This was the worst thing that happened to Patricia.
This is the worst. When you get some takeout, you're super excited, you get it from like a great place, local place, you're excited, you get it home, you open it up, and it is not what you want. And not only is it not what you want, it is like a super like completely dried out sausage and turkey patty. Like, it's nothing. It's the worst.
Listen, you slap a little mayo in there, I think you'll be just fine. A little ketchup and mayo, you solve that right up. This is definitely Kathy's doing, right? Kathy's the issue here. She works at this restaurant, and she was the one that messed up the order.
I guess that's probably true. Yeah, Kathy strikes again.
Kathy strikes again. She's
Is
worse
Kathy
than the boogeyman.
You don't know.
Well, see, I got questions about the boogeyman, and I don't know that the show needs to answer it. They gave us the boogeyman. We saw what happened to the boogeyman, and if the show never went back and explained the boogeyman, and they were just like, it's a haunt, I'd be like, okay, cool, thank you, show. I don't need like everything explained to death, but maybe they will. Who knows? I'll take it either way, Tom. That's how I feel about Widow's Bay. I'll take it either way.
We had kind of talked about, like, you had thought that the boogeyman might have been like an actual like murderer, but like I'm wondering now. And again, I don't think it really matters. I think it's just a means for Patricia to have some redemption arc of being able to take out this guy that kind of haunted her when she was younger. But I would argue the way this was pitched to us, he was not a possessed like serial killer. He was some sort of boogie haunt thing.
Guy just liked to walk at night, with a knife. He's a knife walker. I mean, it happens in every mall across America. The old people love to get up and just walk around,
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like Patricia maybe should have played some music, like some like 70s disco, because maybe he got the boogeyman for a different reason.
That's a really good point. These are all good points. We're making a lot of good points. Speaking of people that are making points, Evan is just waiting for his dad to show up to ambush
Alone
him
in the
with
dark.
this picture box. Like this was almost more nefarious than the boogeyman waiting in Patricia's house. He goes, "Hello, Tom." Yeah. What's going on here?
This guy is just a lot. No, I was gonna say, like, I mean, throughout this whole scene, like, I get him confronting his dad here, but like, as he starts like to read the letters from his mom, like in this insane state, like he's just awful and just continues to torment his dad. I don't love him.
Listen, it is Team Binge canon that we do not like Evan, and we think they have shown him to be a pretty terrible teenager and not great to his dad. He doesn't even call him sir. He calls him Tom when he shows up. Didn't care for that. We both clocked it. Let's talk about this basement comment, because he's holding this box that the girl helped him find that was in a drawer in Tom's room. When Tom sees it, Tom says, "You've been in the basement." What was that about? Because then Evan corrects him and he's like, "No, like it was in your trunk or in a drawer. Talk to me. What basement is he? What basement is he worried about?"
I mean, the clown? I don't know. That's the only basement, or maybe the chair. I almost clock this as Tom he's had this kind of hidden away for so long and hasn't touched it. He doesn't even know it's not in the basement anymore, kind of a thing. But it would be very interesting if there is some sort of like extra thing that got buried in his past that is in the basement. But I don't understand why Tom would confuse it, because it's just a box.
Fair. I just want it clocked. I want it noted. If it turns out to be anything, we solved it right here.
Okay.
How we solved it, I don't know. Are we right? I don't know. But we at least noted it because it was very weird. Mm-hmm. And we get a conversation that probably should have happened years ago. I think I understand why it didn't happen, but all of this with the pictures of Tom's wife and Evan's mom, way past when he was born, her being alive in the pictures, we find out that she had a stroke and that he said that she died during childbirth because, quite frankly, she was never the same. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, they had to have her committed. And we find out that she lasted 2 years in the asylum, which was called the Home, which I don't know. Maybe that is a common name for an asylum. But she only lasted 2 years. And Tom, he's doing what he thinks is best, which is he's continuing to try and present Evan's mother as a loving mother. And I think he just missteps here where he goes, "Listen, she wrote you letters. She continued to love you," which leads... Evan Under's breath is almost like, "Checkmate, Tom." And then he starts to read these insane letters. And yeah, not great. Not great for Tom, not great for Evan.
Well, and we get a little bit later in the episode where he goes like behind what's an ottoman or something like that and pulls some extra letters out.
He reaches behind the basement, Tom, and pulls out some pictures.
That's what he calls the basement. But like, I assumed he was going to pull out some letters like that maybe she had written him while she was pregnant or something like that, but it ended up just kind of being the pictures, which was still kind of beautiful, but I thought it would have been kind of more impactful if it was like, "I'm so excited to see you," or "meet you," "I love you," like just kind of all this kind of stuff before, she had her, whatever kind of episode. And I'm assuming this was all stemmed from her trying to leave the island, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could argue it's coincidence, but based on how everyone's reacting now that the haunt is back on, then yes, I think this is the island's doing, which is sad. But I do want to point out that for the dads out there, you can solve most of these family issues by buying your kid Red Sox tickets. No matter where you live, buy them Red Sox tickets. No matter who's dead and who you lied about, buy them Red Sox tickets and take them to Boston.
He did seem to forgive him very quickly once he got those tickets.
Oh, yeah, so quickly. I mean, it was incredible. But once again, Red Sox tickets. Patricia, we get a quick cut of Patricia calling the restaurant to complain, and I loved the way she did this. It was very non-confrontational, but for herself to feel good, she needed to make this call. And she, deep down, 100% knows it was Kathy. But she's like, I don't know whose fault it was. I just want them to know that I know. She left such a long message for the message machine to finally go, this is full, you cannot leave anymore. It
was good. No, I like that. I didn't even necessarily clock the idea of like this is Patricia kind of like owning the situation as opposed to just like saying, okay, this is my dinner, I'm going to eat this now. She is proactive and she calls, and maybe a pre-party Patricia wouldn't have done this.
I 100% believe that voicemail is full because 700 people have called that restaurant to let them know that Kathy got their order wrong. In fact, someone is calling to complain that they didn't get their dry turkey patty without bun and single sausage because they got her
dumb
like
key lime pie. Yeah.
Exactly. They're like, I haven't had a carb since 2015. Anyways, we then go to Wick and Jerry. I thought this was interesting because in the recap of this episode, they do a couple of flashes of people that have lost people on this island. And one of the ones they pointed out is Wick telling the story to Tom on the boat prior to them violently being attacked by Richard Warren's ghost or real zombie body, whatever, he's a skeleton now. And it's that Wick dated Jerry, and he feels responsible for his death, even though I would argue the Kraken probably did a lot more of the killing than the kicking, you know? And so they're in the Historic Society. He's like, hey, we've got to talk. I got to explain why I've been holding on to this picture. And then we find out Jerry has a husband who's very good at sweeping up glass. But was he going to confess to feeling responsible for Mark's death? Is that what was happening here? Or was he going to confess his undying love to Jerry? What's happening here?
No, I'm assuming it was the confessing of like the instance with her brother and like how maybe he actually perished. And, you know, we don't know what story that Jerry knows about this. And I think he just wants to get this off his chest and present it to her. And I'd like, he even says like, hey, I want to give you this picture and tell you the story behind it. And then it ultimately ends up just being, after the husband comes in, he just kind of skates off. So Jerry doesn't really ask any follow-up questions. So I'm hoping we do get, you know, Wick able to confront her with this and kind of get this off his chest a bit. But
I want to argue that I don't think Wick got possessed when he fell off the boat, but I think something happened to him to make him a kinder, gentler soul. He tried to pick up the check. Once again, Tom, something I don't do. He tried to explain to Jerry that he's the reason her brother died. Once again, Tom, something I will never do. And so I just, we're seeing a different Wick, and I'm interested what he saw in the water that has kind of changed him. Yeah. Or the fact that he thinks that the haunt's over. Maybe that's what's led to this. I don't know.
That's what I was kind of thinking. Like he's opening up a little bit more because he thinks the haunt's over. And now I think he's going to go back to his kind of paranoid self.
Sure. After this conversation, the cleaning up of the glass, a lot of guys dumping things into wastebaskets or taking things out of wastebaskets in the background of this show. I really appreciate. Ooh, yeah. Somebody's tummy's full or whatever that guy says was so great. We find out that the murderer's mask has been stolen, which...
Great name.
So incredible. So I want to confess this, Tom. Because I have nothing going on in my life, I rewatched episode 1. And I paused when they were in the Historic Society when the reporter is there. And like Jerry's giving her spiel. We're talking about cannibalism. And it is so funny. The stuff that is in the background. This mask is clocked in episode 1. There is a like pilgrim woman's outfit that's covered in blood at like the neckline and stomach line, like someone got slaughtered in it. There's just so many like weird, creepy things happening in the background. So I would encourage people, if you haven't, watch the show 100 times more and you'll pick up a lot of stuff. If you've got all the time in the world, go and do it. But I thought it was funny to go back to that and then see it taken in this episode and lead to
awesome.
The boogeyman coming back, which
Yeah.
Wick goes to the house, finds the door's been smashed open. This guy was in concrete, right, Tom? So this guy's got to be, like, pretty strong, I think.
I mean, yeah, you got to call it Property Brothers. We already called out how nice this front door looked. Like, it still is a nice painted dark red. So for the boogeyman to come in and destroy this was just a bummer.
And what we find out about the boogeyman is he doesn't know how to use a door properly, and he doesn't know how to exit a window properly. This guy is very bad.
I would argue he nailed it.
Oh, we'll talk about that in a little while because I've got questions. We have Patricia at home dealing with her meal. The car alarm goes off. What was the library truck called, Tom? I keep forgetting
the paddy wagon.
Name. There we go, the paddy wagon. Yeah, a lot of creepy
But this was
stuff
so
happening.
good. Did you clock this? So she goes out of the house, and the camera does a very like specific pan of her going out of the house. She turns and closes the door. It pans over to the paddy wagon. She turns off the car alarm, and then it goes back to the front of the house, and the door is wide open. So like, I love the way it was shot, because if you weren't paying attention, you just thought she went to deal with the car, then walked back over, but she very clearly closed the door, and it was open when she comes back. But she doesn't clock it yet.
No,
I thought that was brilliant.
It was brilliant, and it was brilliant in the way that someone like me, who's like cowering and whimpering behind the couch watching, was like, wait, I think she closed the door and now it's open. I think this is bad. And it did it in a way that was like, hey, you will notice it, but also you will question whether or not you noticed it right. And this leads to creepy house time. And I wrote in the outline, Tom, I did not care for this. I did not care for this. I wanted to be anywhere else but in the house because she didn't have a firearm and she eventually only has a taser with 2%. And I just did not care for this. But just her staring at that door that's open a crack, and it's almost like you can imagine the door is like just a little bit moving. Just a little bit moving. I did not care for this.
Well, and I feel like what she clocks is the breathing. Like you can hear him breathing on the other side. There's like 2 audible deep breaths, and I think that's what she clocks. So then she starts, backing away very slowly, and then finding the taser. And I love like the close-ups on the taser. It's like Wildcat taser. It's like at 2%, which was just fantastic. Now, Wildcat's an okay brand. I personally prefer the Vipertech VTS 989, but you take what you can get in this situation.
Yeah, and you can order those Vipertechs on toysrus.com. Just use the promo code Julian Tom Tase us, and you'll get, I think it adds 10% onto the price, but
Exactly.
that 10% comes to us, so in a way, it's okay. When I saw that, it recalled to me that there have been questions about the time period of this show, which I do think, based on the fact that Wi-Fi exists, but is not real, doesn't really work well on the island, that we are in modern times, but everything on this island is antiquated. Everything is like analog. Everything is old. And so I thought it was funny to see the old version of the Wildcat, which I heard the Vipertech VTS 989 does 4,000 times more voltage than the Wildcat taser. So run out to your local toy store and get one, kids.
I think it's got an LED flashlight on it too.
Yeah. So you can see where you've murdered them.
Even to your point though, before we move on from the taser, like the best part of the taser is that it has this super long cord too that has to be plugged in.
Sure.
And like the second she starts running around with that, I'm like, oh, she's gonna trip on that later. And sure enough, she does. It's great.
Right. But the Vipertech VTS 989 has a 50-foot cord. So that's how you know it's a modern invention. And it comes with its own backpack. So you can wear the backpack and hide the Vipertech in it and pretend like you don't have one. Although the label is... Anyways, it doesn't matter. All right. This cut with him in the doorway, didn't care for. Didn't care for. And by didn't care for, I loved it. I loved all of this. It was just creepy enough, but it was terrifying.
I feel like there's been some like mini jump scares throughout the series thus far, but this one was a big one, and it got me bad. Like I was waiting for it, and like went through the whole house. I'm like, oh, maybe the episode's not going to do it, but no, it's the music crescendos. It pans quickly to the door, and there's this haunting figure with this super creepy, like, I don't know, it almost looks like a doll mask with like hollowed out eyes. It's terrifying.
Sure. It was definitely not a William Shatner mask. They love the homage. She runs door to door. She's the fastest woman alive.
She was, and he's the slowest man alive. So I love when she goes up to doors, knocks on them, and then has the time to just walk off the porch and then go to the next one while he's just slowly mumbling down the street. It's lovely.
Right. Yeah. No, they're both doing a great job. I would have loved to seen her like run back to him, boop him on the nose, and then keep running in the other direction. Interspersed with this is Wick shows up. We find out that Wick has also realized from the door of the boogeyman's house that he's probably after Patricia. I don't think that's a crazy leap to make since she was the only survivor from the group of teenage women. I do want to point out, Tom, that she is 40 now, so he's probably not interested in her anymore.
But what is age on this island, you know?
Well, that's a good question. Sorry, that was a callback joke. I don't want to be like I'm making fun of Patricia for being old. That was a joke that Tom made. So Tom made. Remember? What was she, Tom? In her 40s? Anyways, all right. Patricia, I didn't see this coming. I don't know why they even brought these women back up in the recap, but all of a sudden Patricia is at book club, I believe.
It was a great book club. Yeah.
The actress that plays Patricia is phenomenal in this episode. Just doing a great job.
Oh, Patricia's the absolute best. I love this actress, and I love how she deals with these women. It's fantastic.
Oh, the end conclusion of this conversation was phenomenal. I'll say that. What I thought was a little bit weird is it is revealed that Patricia lied, saying that she also got calls from the boogeyman, and because she felt left out. But so I guess the debate is he still showed up at her house, but she lied about the calls. Is that fair? One was true, but one was a lie?
Yeah, so I think it's kind of like both sides are right kind of a thing where, yeah, sure, she lied about the calls, and she said she told like one little white lie, and then it kind of snowballed, and she couldn't go back on it. I love that quick little line. It's like, well, it went too far. I had to then just agree to it. But she did, then say that he did come to the house. So she still has a haunted past with him.
Right. Because otherwise she would be, I would argue that her experience evading the boogeyman the first time around allowed her to evade the boogeyman the second time around. I think she's a boogeyman evading veteran at this point, and she could probably do like a TED Talk. Not like a real TED Talk, those like kind of off-brand TED Talks, like theater talks or whatever they're called.
They're called Ned Talks.
That's the one. Thank you. I did not appreciate this woman calling our dear Patricia annoying or telling her that she had no friends. I did not care for this, and she got her just tasering, and I loved it. And honestly, had she had the Vipertech VTS 989, that woman would have died, and we all would have been happy.
I love how this woman just keeps taunting her by saying bye-bye, knowing as an audience that she has a taser in her hand. I'm like, oh, just do it. And then she does, and then she's like, oh, she's just the worst. But this ended up being a costly tasing, right? Because it took her from 2% to 1%.
It was a costly tasing, but honestly, I think Patricia does not regret it. I don't regret it. I loved it for her. She runs outside. The boogeyman is now inside the house. He's missed each other.
The house. I love the scream. Yeah.
Yes. And I love the window work in this episode. It's like the women are in the bottom level windows. He's up at the top. When she was initially in her house, you're like looking into that deep, dark window, trying to find him, and then he appears at the door. Listen, I spend a lot of time looking in my neighbor's windows, and nothing is more exciting than actually seeing someone, you know? So that's something that the judge told me I shouldn't say out loud, but it is what it is. I'm sorry, my lawyer told me that. The judge said I should stop doing the looking into windows. It doesn't matter. That's different podcast.
What is that podcast called, Julian?
It's called Not Peeping Toms with Julian, and unfortunately, Tom, you're not included on that one because it's in the title. All right, he falls through the window, and this, I believe, is a direct callback to Halloween, because there is a point where Michael Myers, I believe I have the right monster, falls through the window, and he does it in such a way that it's just like a straight flop, like he just lands Like, he doesn't brace himself. He just lands, and then he lays there. And so, I don't know. I was like, I thought he originally got pushed out the window, but this is just how he exits windows.
The way this was set up is great because he's like at the window and then he kind of like backs away and then you can hear like the audible running, like he's running down the hallway or through this bedroom to then barrel through the window. Just brilliant.
The guy really lacks athleticism. I'll just say that. He's not a cat. He does not land on his feet. He lands straight on his back and just lays there.
He's like a wrestler. He just lands like flat on the back.
Right. He knows how to do a trust fall.
Flop?
No, that's not
Yeah,
what it's
I don't know
called.
what it's called.
Anyways, he sits up in the classic way that these guys do, and then Tom, who hits him with a car? He's like, she gets wrapped around by the cord of the taser, which once again would not happen with the Vipertech VTS 898. I'm sorry, the 989. I was my bad. Who hits him with the car? Because he's about to get her, and then he gets hit by the car. The ambulance?
I mean, I assumed this was Wick, right? Because we already kind of had the establishing shot of Wick like chasing down or trying to find Patricia. So then when a car comes in, like, oh, boom, Wick comes to save the day. But I mean, there's no other car unless it was a hit and run. So I guess it is the ambulance. And yeah, these poor ambulance drivers and paramedics, they don't turn out well.
Now, let me ask you a question, Tom. As someone who I believe spent 40 years as a paramedic, when it was a slow night, would you often run people over just so you could then administer medicine to them? Because it really feels like this is what these paramedics are doing. Is they're like, let's just hit some people, we'll resuscitate them, we'll bill them, we'll hit our quota, let's go on. Like, why? I would argue that this paramedic that got knifed kind of deserved it. He shouldn't just be running around knocking people over with his car.
I mean, that is a fair point. I do like how both the paramedic and then we get the gas station attendant later essentially like trying to save the life of this boogeyman only to like been immediately dispatched of. I thought that was great. And both times Patricia's like, no, stop it. Stop trying to help this guy.
Right. Yeah. Listen, those paramedics just running people down, those gas station attendants. He was probably extinguishing just so he could then light him on fire. These guys just love to heal and hurt all in one. All right, cut from the action, which I believe that scene ends with Patricia continuing to scream and run down the road, which
Correct.
Always a good
She
time.
got her cardio. Yeah, she got her cardio in on this episode.
Oh, she definitely watched Zombieland and followed, I think that's rule number one,
Rule
cardio.
number one, yeah.
All right, so Tom and Evan continuing to have one of the worst family meetings that anyone's ever had. Evan continues to read these letters. Listen, I give a lot of respect to Tom for just taking it. Like, he's realized he messed up, and he's just letting his mean teenage son beat him up repeatedly. But this eventually does lead to him walking over to the bookcase. He reaches behind it. At first, his hand touches like a dirty magazine that he taped back there 30 years ago. And then his hand moves down and it pulls the envelope out of some pictures that show. And I liked this moment. He was like, listen, this is who I choose to remember your mom as. Like, this is who she was. And it was a nice moment.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. Like, yeah, this is who she wanted you to remember, not like the other version of her. It was touching.
And then he's like, and you know what? She loved the Sox. Bam! Here are some Red Sox tickets. Are we cool? And Evan's like, Red Sox tickets? Yeah, we're cool,
Hug.
Dad.
Yeah.
Awesome. He like throws the pictures. He's like, I don't even know who that lady is. Show me Red Sox. I was going to try and name a player on the Red Sox, Tom. Nope. Couldn't even try. I was Mark McGuire. Does Mark McGuire still play baseball?
Nomar Garcia Parra.
yeah.
He still plays, right?
Sure. Mr. Red Sox, I believe, is the pitcher currently.
I think the most unbelievable thing in this episode was the fact that he printed these tickets.
You think so? Well, they don't have great internet. They don't have cell phones, Tom. No one operates with a cell phone, so he's not going to put it on. The guy doesn't even know what an app is, so I don't know. That was not when the boogeyman falls out of the window, that was the most unbelievable thing for me. I can't believe he felt like that. Patricia runs to the gas station. So part of me during this whole episode, and I believe it's purposeful, you could argue this could all be in Patricia's head, right? No one, like the paramedics amazingly show up, hit the guy, and then get stabbed, but we've never seen those paramedics before. The women that she crashes the book club, they don't interact with the boogeyman, right? They're just thinking Patricia is crazy. So by the time we get to the gas station and we see the sheriff inside, I was like, okay, we're going to find out whether or not the boogeyman's real. And it turns out, Tom, he is real. He is very real, and he loves being doused in gasoline.
Oh, this was great. When Patricia runs in, and like we get the sheriff in there, so it's cool to see the sheriff in this scene. When Patricia runs in, it's like $20 on 3, like so great, and then runs out and then creates this line of fire to then light. Just poetry. Patricia's the best.
Listen. I've never set someone on fire with a gas pump and a taser. I would have sprayed him. I mean, he sidesteps one direction and he's out of the flame. Like you gotta douse the person. As someone who, I mean, you've always said your favorite scene in any movie is the gasoline fight in Zoolander. I'm just surprised she did not spray him directly. She laid a trail that he could have leaped over, you know?
Yeah, I mean, but this guy was like bloodlust. He was solely focused on coming after her, so he's not going to be zigging and zagging.
He
he's
only
not like
moves
Bran
in
Stark.
straight lines. No serpentine for this guy, just straight lines.
Uh-huh.
Your thoughts on the sheriff's shotgun work, Tom?
Oh, poor. I was like, cool, we got the sheriff. He's finally got his gun out. And granted, this is a weird situation to be in, but he hesitated, and it cost him.
Oh, it cost him so much. He gets a little stabby stab, and I loved that they let Patricia have her hero moment. I think we talked about this at one point where we were like, hey, is the boogeyman going to show up? And we said he only shows up to give Patricia her moment. And sure enough, they did it, and I loved it. And I loved she did not take the gun off of him until he was burnt to ash. And I was like, that's the dedication. So many times in horror movies, they're like, oh, he's dead. Let's just leave that body that's still moving. He won't come back. And you want to be like, bro, it's Halloween 6. They're gonna make a 7. Like he's coming back. But I loved Patricia's shotgun work. Just the best.
Oh, it's so amazing. Yeah, because they always come back for one last scare, right? That's the classic Halloween or scary movie bit. And when they first go to her, I thought she was going to have another shot when they kind of panned the camera out. She was going to shoot him one more time, and that was going to be it. But when they cut to the ambulance and she's inside riding with him, gun right on his head, and then obviously the chef's kiss at the end when he's in the crematorium or whatever, and she asks is there any other way out of here, which if there's another way out of that room, that would be kind of weird, but watching this all the way through and her dedication is fantastic.
I love no one questioning it. She's just locked in, shotgun, locked in. And this town has a tradition where we catch them, we burn them. You know, that's what they do here in Widow's Bay. Just like the witches, Tom. We caught them, we burned them.
It's so true.
Anyways, I loved all of this. What did you think about them not trying to pull the mask off this guy? We just assumed he was not everyone on this island is in on the haunt. So I think it's interesting that the coroner's just hey, should we examine this body? Nah, let's just burn him. The doctors and the coroners on this island leave something to be desired.
I think that's a very fair point. From a professional opinion, yeah, they probably should have done some form of an autopsy on this dude, but I like what they did, and I think going back to earlier, are we going to get any more boogeyman backstory or something that goes with this? No, I don't think we need it, and I think keeping the mask on all the way through the cremation is proof that this was it was a creature that was haunting them, and that's it. It doesn't need to have any more backstory than that.
Right, and maybe everyone on the island has their own personal haunt, and this one just happened to be Patricia's. So I enjoyed it. Once again, don't need a backstory. I think you're absolutely right. The sheriff is in the hospital, and he is recovering. I'm sure that doctor will do great work on him.
I do like we get a quick cut of the TV broadcast talking about thunderstorm warnings. So I'm like, oh man, what a brilliant way to end the season. They're on a small island in the northwest or northeast, having a thunderstorm roll through is just going to be poetic for a last couple episodes.
Yes, I am anticipating heavy storm plot armor, and I'm excited for it. Give me storms. We also see, and I know that my spouse, while watching this, because the sheriff says something to the gas station attendant, like, oh, she can't smell this when I eat it, and she asked him to pick up ice cream. We find out that the sheriff's wife, who we finally meet, there was some conjecture as to whether or not spouses exist on this island. We meet her, she's real, and she is pregnant. And this leads to Patricia, who is in hero mode, being like, you cannot have your child here, Sheriff. Things are going bad.
Yeah, and we get another mention of like Patricia talking about her age. Like I thought she was in her 40s, and Bashir kind of like laughs it off. It's like, oh, don't you be telling her that. But we had that in the earlier episode where that old sailor dude like came back and
Shep.
they said he was what? Yeah, 37
Shep was
or
37,
27.
even though he looked 81. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So there is some weird stuff going on with ages, and I don't really know what to make of it quite yet.
What I also found rewatching episode 1 is Patricia is sitting in with Shep, talking to him while he's in a coma as Tom comes in. And she has a throwaway line where she says, and that's where I found out my biological age is 28. And I thought that was interesting. I pointed it out, and then my spouse was like, oh, no, that's just like a social media thing nowadays. People do these tests, and they get told their biological age. And I was like, oh, well, thank you, Internet. I appreciate that.
What was yours? I'm assuming you did the test. What was
No,
yours?
I did not do the test. The test was like inconclusive. Please buy a burial plot. And I was like, that's hurtful test. I'm not ready. I guess, so do we think sheriff and wife and that situation is going to be kind of a main? We have 2 more to go or 3 more to go, Tom?
There's 10, so this was 8. We got penultimate and finale.
Penultimate and finale. So I think this is going to come into play. Do you think they make the Red Sox game, Tom? That's the main thing we should conjecture at this point.
Oof. I don't think they are. And then I guess just to put a pin in the sheriff situation, like I'm assuming that's going to be like maybe a hopeful story. Like maybe they do get off the island at the end of this season. Like
That
there's
would
still
be nice.
haunts and there's still stuff going on. Yeah, but that's like kind of the ray of hope is he gets off the island with his wife.
I hope they make it off the island, but I hope that there is a Widow's Bay season 2. I desperately hope that there is a Widow's Bay season 2.
Yes,
And
agreed.
maybe that's in Widow's Bay's sister island called Widower Bay. I don't know, but I would love more of this show if they are willing to do it.
For sure.
Before we end, we have Tom and Evan having a nice time together, talking baseball, throwing back and forth. Hey, Dad, how about a catch? And then Wick shows up, and he's like, it's not over, and there's a storm a-coming. And I was like, all right, awesome. I'm ready for the next 2. Unfortunately, they're going to drop them once a week instead of... They really spoiled me last week with 2, you know?
Very true, very true. But yeah, I love the ending. Like we talked in the beginning, like they didn't necessarily move the story a bunch. It's just a means for us to say that the haunt is still going and allow our characters to come to that realization as well, at least our main 3. So it's definitely setting up. I mean, I guess we'll get it here in a second. We go to like audience corner theories, but I'm wondering what your thoughts are in terms of where we think we're going to go in these last couple.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. We are going to solve this haunt in one way, shape, or form that allows some hopeful storylines to happen, for Evan to go to college off island, for that baby to be born. And I liked in this episode how Patricia gained agency or like hero status. I don't think she's ever going to put that shotgun down again. If I was her, I would not. But I like that we have her now in a position to like be a part of how are we handling this haunt. And like, so I don't know exactly. I do think, and let's just roll into audience corner, Tom, because then we can talk about those theories. And the main one being, and this is something that we've had multiple people email us about. We've had people get involved from Reddit, but the main thing people took away from the last 2 episodes, the history one as well as seasickness, was the bloodline. And so since the haunt is still on, even though Richard Warren has been sent to, I don't know, the other side of the mystery, the question is like, who is Richard Warren's descendant, and if the bloodline is still a line, like how that got that way. And so I'll just talk about it now. We pointed it out, and we've had some conversations from people about the painting that they zoom into at the end of the last episode, where there is the painting of the boat, which is Sarah taking the children, and then there seems to be a girl in the water reaching out for an oar. So the idea being here, one of the children of Richard Warren did not make it with Sarah, or did not go with Sarah, but ended up back on the island. And so I think we're going to go down that line in terms of who's still of the bloodline. And honestly, based on some conjecture, that could make some things a little bit tricky. So have you given the bloodline a thought, Tom, or do we want to dive into that now?
I think we kind of talked about it a little bit, but I appreciate people reaching out and kind of filling that in a little bit, because I think I guess the assumption is it's the 9-fingered girl, in terms of why make it such a point throughout the earlier episodes, and maybe that's going to be the one that kind of comes back. But I would still venture a guess that it is Evan in terms of the bloodline, and maybe with Evan's mom or her side of the family, because again, they're featuring Evan so much, and I haven't loved him as a character, and I feel like what he's been doing is probably more setting up Tom's tough decisions to have to figure out what to do next if it's really Evan part of this bloodline. But I also don't know how do we get there? How do we as an audience, and how do our characters now find out that it's Evan, it's somebody else on this island that is related? What's your take? Do you think it's Evan? Do you think it's some of the other wild cards?
Well, I just want to point out, so we got a couple of different emails, and I want to give these people just credit where credit is due. Heather R. of CWR Ceramics reached out to us, which, lovely pottery. She believes it's Evan, which I think is interesting, because if we have to end the bloodline in order to end the haunt, that's going to put Tom in a little bit of a sticky situation, needing to end Evan. Ross K., good to hear from you. He pointed out, obviously, the Warren bloodline. And then he also clocked what I thought was interesting was, hey, is Tom's wife still alive based on those pictures? And it was solved for us in this episode, hey, not necessarily alive, but she did last longer than childbirth. And then the one that I thought was great was Jennifer L. reached out, and she pointed out that people are following, and there is some significance to the brooch that Sarah hands to the 9-fingered girl, who I believe is named Frances. It's showing up in some paintings because it's clearly not on the doll in the museum. And so part of that is hey, where did the brooch end up? So I think the brooch is going to come into play based on the 9 fingers. Someone did also note the painting. There is a painting in the office that has that brooch. And so just want to give Jennifer L. a shout out. She did a great job doing some sleuthing. Now, I believe she mentioned Rosemary, which I think would be very, very funny if Rosemary, who we essentially know nothing other than she can spot skin cancer and let Patricia throw that crazy party, it might be her. So personally, I like Wick, honestly. I think Wick has been kind of attuned to this island from the get-go, and so it would be interested to me if he's kind of... I mean, if Warren was the original protector of the island, why wouldn't Wick somehow have that in his blood? You know what I mean? So those would be and we really appreciate people reaching out and throwing out theories. It's very nice to hear from people.
Yeah, and it's fun too, because it's we watch the show and then we record on it essentially kind of right away. So we don't do a whole bunch of deep dives. We want to just kind of get this episode out there. But yeah, there's so much theory crafting, and the show is done so well. To your point, you went back and watched the first episode. You can go to that historical museum and see all these little pieces that are going to come up in later episodes, which I absolutely love. And I'm sure all the articles on the wall, if you pause and read them all, they're probably just a boatload of fun. This show is just... it pays attention to the detail, and it's what really separates it above a lot of the other stuff that's out nowadays.
I wanted to point 2 other things out. Just what I was thinking about is we had talked about whether or not it was the same Wick or what happened to Wick in the water. People are clocking something went different there. And then the other thing I want to point out is we have had the hand drawing of when people go on the drug trip. We had Tom draw it, and we had the one guy that had the bad trip, and the shaman's like, hey, he made this incredible drawing. I want to point out that when Richard Warren goes on his trip and we see him in his trance from that previous episode, he has stabbed his hand, or he has done something with his hand. And so like the symbol of the hand going through those three, I think that will be something that is maybe revealed, or once again, they were just drawing turkeys. We'll never know.
Yeah, that's another great call. I didn't even think about the relation to the mushrooms and the hand drawing.
Well,
maybe they just didn't have time to finish their hand drawing, right? They were going to poke holes in the center of it. They just didn't get to that part.
Listen, that might be what it is. That truly might be what it is. All right, audience quarter, Tom. Or did you have more theories to discuss?
No more theories, but I do just want to shout out a handful of folks that just recently left us some 5-star reviews. We really appreciate you. We have one from One to the Head, who says, likes the cut of our jib, which I appreciate that.
That's a sailing reference, Tom, and this is a show about sailors lost at sea and their widows waiting for them. So thank you, sir.
Really is.
Thank you for the review.
Sir or ma'am, we don't know. And I would argue One to the Head, this could have came up handy in this episode with Patricia.
Sure,
you know?
Sure.
We have Bob Tag 222 said he loves listening to us and smiling along. Really appreciate you. Scabeltron 3000, which is a fantastic name.
It's another taser, Tom. That's another taser brand. The Scabeltron 3000.
You can't afford that one, or we can't. Not yet.
We can't.
But yeah, enjoys our good-natured, fun podcast and just like chatting with friends, which we appreciate. And then we got old Greg 63. We finally got him. He discovered us through Widow's Bay and is very happy to subscribe and join along. So thank you again to those that took the time. It means the world to us. We appreciate it.
Yep, wonderful. And I do want to mention that I waded into the beautiful place that is Reddit and ran into a couple of folks that I just want to give a shout out to. Irish Up Your Coffee, Lazy Crocheter. Tom, help me out here. Lazy Crocheter, is that...
Crotcheter.
No, it's not that. And then Alio6ND, I appreciated the shout outs. And we appreciate you guys. People ask for podcast recommendations on Reddit, and people throw out our name, and we appreciate it. So we will be back for the penultimate episode. This show has been wonderful. Honestly, a little bit sad that we're closing in on 2, but I'm very interested to see how they land the plane. And this is one of the shows that I've got a lot of faith that they knew what they were doing. It's well structured. There's a lot of Easter eggs. So I think we're in good hands is how I feel.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And then, just to close us out, if you want to reach out and participate on our audience corner, reach us at teambingepodcast@gmail.com. Follow us at the socials at Team Binge or at Team Binge Podcast. And let us know what you think there. I mean, I don't necessarily call it out, but we do have a lot of people that are also engaging on our social media, which I greatly appreciate, and like YouTube and everything. So thank you again for everybody. It's just been a super fun show for us. We are a very small podcast, and we found a really fun audience with this show, and we thank you a lot.
Yep, we appreciate the participation. For Team Binge, I have been Julian.
And I have been Tom. Until next week, everybody.